And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I am your host, Kim Davis. I feel like I'm a little not positioned. Hold on. It's what happens when you start messing with stuff when the show starts. Little technical difficulty. Wrong camera. Right camera. All right, here we go. Let's try this again. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. Happy Tuesday. Super excited to have you join me on this week's show. There's a lot going on and there's a lot to get to, and we are going to get to it today. So thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for joining me. If you are in Texas, apparently we need to be conserving our energy during the peak of the day, which I believe is considered noon to 5, because ERCOT is concerned about the grid. So I'm concerned about these politicians and let us get into this position, okay? That wasn't what I planned to talk about today, but I do want to say, hey, if you want to conserve, I actually have an additional fan. I put a fan on so that I can, because when I'm in the upstairs part of my home, or the headquarters, the world headquarters of the KD company, it's warmer. So if you hear a little bit of a noise, then that's a fan. So that's what you're hearing. I'm trying to help conserve and also to not burn up, because well, my watch says it's 90 degrees outside. So there you have it. So anyway, do your part, people. We do not want this grid to fail. It is much too hot to not have electricity, hence air conditioning, fans, however you keep yourself cool and hydrated. All right, so that's my little public service announcement. And also, remember how we got here, because ERCOT, who is appointed by the Governor Abbott, he's didn't appoint a special session to talk about ERCOT or what to do about the grid, but let's do it to talk about, I don't know, voter suppression and controlling women's bodies. Let's just do that. Okay. Anyway, welcome everybody. Happy Tuesday. It is June the 15th. Another PSA. It is tax day in Texas. We got a little more time because we had that whole winter freeze grid failure situation. So today is the day. If you don't file your taxes today, be sure you at the very least, file an extension. So June 15th is tax day in Texas. Those are my public service announcements at this point. Welcome. We are knee deep in the NBA playoffs. The conference finals are underway. I am going to talk to you about your senators, and I am going to remind you to call them, and I'm going to give you a number where you can do so. I'm going to let you. We're going to talk about why I'm making this plea, and it is about information. And I think wherever you stand politically, you should be interested in everybody having a fair chance to vote. Okay. Voter rights is not just about people of color, although that may be the target. It is about the democracy, and it is about the fact that we all should have that right. So I am going to share a number with you a little later in the program. In fact, I may just sit it on the screen. So so that you have the number. Okay. And make sure that when it posts, that it will also call your U.S. senators. Okay, that's the number. So make sure that you call them, both of them. We all have 2 senators. I don't care if you voted for them, if you think they, represent you. They do represent you. They work for you. They work for all of us. Call them and tell them you want to see Senate 1 pass the House, pass the Senate. You are concerned about voter rights for everybody, and let them hear from you. And this may sound like a lot, but I'm asking you to call them every day. Okay, call them as much as you can. You will be routed when you call this number to the right place. When you finish talking to one, you may not come to the phone. Like, I live in Texas, so what I know is that Ted Cruz is never going to be available. It's okay. I know this because I call and I email. He never responds and is available. John Cornyn will, at the very least, send me a pre-written obligatory response, but at least there's something. But more important than what I get from them, it is that they hear from me. So what I say is, wherever you live, let your senators hear from you, both of them. When you finish with one, hang up and call the other. Okay, you'll be routed to the senators for your state. So that's what that number is. I'll periodically put it up. I'll leave it up for now. But that's what the Call Your Senators is about. I'm going to let you hear from Stacey Abrams shortly, and to hear why she is. This is not something I created. I just call and I call and check in with my senators, because that is part of my civic responsibility. But Stacey Abrams I'm going to let you hear from her, and she's going to tell us why it's important, regardless of their response. If we may not have big money, but we do have the ability to reach out and contact them, and that's what we should do. So that's what the numbers are for on the screen. All right. So listen, we are knee deep in the NBA playoffs. It is a conference finals. It is it's a conference semifinals. My apologies. So in the West, it's the Clippers and it's Utah. In the other conference semifinal, it was, because that's now over, it was the Phoenix Suns, and it was also taking on the Nuggets, the Denver Nuggets. Phoenix swept the Nuggets. They swept them 4-0. Game 4, that final, was 125-118. That game was on Sunday, and they won it in Denver. The Suns are the 2 seed in the West. The Nuggets were the 3 seed. The Nuggets have effectively gone fishing. The other series, the Jazz and the Clippers, the other semifinal series is the Jazz and the Clippers. That series is now not at 2 games apiece. The Clippers won last night to tie that series. The Jazz, of course, are the top seed in the West. The Clippers are the 4th seed. The Clippers won last night 118-104 to tie that series at 2 games apiece. So that's where they are. In the East, the Nets and the Bucks are tied at 2 games apiece. Of course, the Nets started out like it looked like we were a week ago. There was all this talk about what Giannis wasn't doing, right? But what we know is the series is tied at 2 games apiece. And not only is James Harden out, because we knew that going into the weekend, now they are without Kyrie Irving for I'm not sure how long. They have Kevin Durant, but that series is tied at 2 games apiece. I'm going to let you hear. We're going to hear about all these series on today's show. I think that's interesting. We'll let you hear a little bit about the altercation, if you will, with PJ Tucker. And I hate to call it an altercation, but it was Kevin Durant's security guy that was a little aggressive with PJ Tucker, so much so that the security person for Kevin Durant has been suspended for the rest of the series. I don't know if it's the rest of the playoffs, but at least the rest of the series, what could in fact be the rest of the playoffs, depending on how the Nets respond. So that series is tied at 2 games apiece. And then the other conference semifinal in the East has the Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Atlanta Hawks. Of course, the 76ers have the top seed in the East. The Hawks are the 5 seed. That series is now tied at 2 games apiece. Last night, the Hawks beat the Sixers 103 to 100. So it is going down. All right. So all of the conference semifinals are tied at 2 games apiece, except for the Phoenix Sun, who now get a chance to get some rest because Chris Paul, as Charles Drayton said, is the truth. They got it done. Good morning, Charles. Good morning. Welcome, welcome. He says Chris Paul is the truth. He is. In fact, Charles texted me after the game that night, and I was like, he is the truth. And good morning, my cousin Joyce, who had a birthday last weekend. Happy birthday again, cousin, all the way from North Texas. And then, of course, my sister Sylvia. Good morning, Sylvia, right here in H-Town. All right, so let me put this number back on the screen. Make sure you write this number down as we get further into the show. I'm going to tell you why I have this number for you to call your U.S. senators. Call them both. Get one and then call back and get rerouted and get the other. But write that number down so you can have it. So I want to start talking about the Suns because as Charles said, Chris Paul is the truth. But he also could have been a Rocket, right? He should have been a Rocket. He was here. And I'm just going to say it. James Harden had him run out of town. And then James Harden left. So we got nothing. I mean, we got some stuff. But you know what I'm saying? We're now like a lottery team. Chris Paul should have been a Houston Rocket. But you know what? Good for him. And I'm just going to go right now and tell you I'm rooting for Chris Paul to win it all. I'd like to see the Suns take on the Sixers in the NBA championship. Actually, maybe the Suns and the Hawks. I'm okay with who comes out of the East, actually. I would like for it to be either the Hawks or the Sixers, quite frankly. And I'd like to see Chris Paul face him in the finals and win it all. I'd like to see him get his chip. So I'm just telling you, I mean, I can be objective with how I talk about what happened, but that's who I'm pulling for, all right? So he had an amazing night on Sunday. He had 37 points. I think he's 36 years old, so it's the first time someone that's 36 has scored 37 points in the playoffs. He had 7 assists. Let me pull up his numbers because I know he had 37 points. And let me just go to the Sun. So he played 39 minutes. He scored 37 points on 14 of 19 shooting. He was perfect from the free throw line, 9 of 9. He had 3 rebounds, dished out 7 assists, had 2 steals, and only 2 personal fouls. So he had a big night. Let's just say that. Okay, he played really well, and he led all scorers for either team. This is Chris Paul. Wait a minute. Let me go to after the game on Sunday night. Let me give you more of him. And let me take the number down for right now. I'll put it back up later. This is Chris Paul post-game after they defeated.
Chris Paul. What a Sun fans here, by the way, folks. A ton of Phoenix Suns fans. They do. That's crazy. What about that, Chris? What do you think of all those fans up there?
Man, that's sick. That's sick. We ran out for warm-ups. It felt like a home game. I ain't been on a team like this to travel like this. That's crazy.
We're gonna pass the baton over to Chris Haynes, but from Reggie and I, we want to congratulate you. You gave us a thrill tonight in every performance. Chris Haynes, take it away.
Chris,
got this team to the Western Conference Finals. How difficult was it to get this game when that team's identity suddenly changed once the Joker went out?
God is good. Tell you, man.
It's a tough team over there.
With Joker without him, they well coached, they play hard, they compete. And we knew once Joker went out, that was just going to open the door for a lot of other guys.
We just tried to stay the course.
Over these last couple of games, offensively, you took it up to another notch. And particularly with that mid-range game. How important is the mid-range game still in the game of basketball?
Important to me. Some years ago,
I played with the Clippers. The whole league went to this drop defense. You know what I mean? And I was like, that's what y'all gonna give up. I'm gonna try to perfect it. But it's not about that. I'm so grateful
to my family, my team.
A couple years ago, they was writing me off. You can't do this. This ain't about me. It's about us. Show you what you can do when you come together as a team. You got a great team over there, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of.
You're going to wait the winner between the Clippers and the Jazz. But in the meantime, what are the expectations of this team? What is the ceiling of this team this season?
We're just going to keep playing hard. You never know what the future holds. We're going to keep playing hard.
Now we're going to get some rest.
Some much needed rest. But it's special, man. And these fans, we thank y'all so much, man. Seriously. Got my moms and pops here, my older brother. It's all love. Thank you, dog.
That's great.
That's absolutely fantastic. And well-deserved there by CP3. And the love and energy is getting from these Suns fans and these Nuggets fans that have remained here.
Wonderful scene. Paul, family, and fans.
They wrote him off. He's done. He should retire. He's lost this thing. And what has he done? He has changed what people perceive the Phoenix Suns to be a perennial loser. Now they're in the conference finals.
How could he possibly be fifth in MVP voting? There's Jokic. He was ejected late in the third. The MVP.
All right, so that was Chris Paul. I just wanted to let it play out, right? So, yes, when he said they wrote me off, I want y'all to know, those of you in Houston, he's talking about the Rockets because the Rockets wrote him off and some of the media in Houston wrote him off because the media in Houston, many of them had such a blind spot when it came to James Harden. It happened with Dwight. When Dwight was here, Dwight Howard, he was a problem. Kevin McHale. I mean, it's always somebody else for all of the things that James Harden is so good at. Somebody needed to be a grown-up in the room and say, listen, work it out. This is a great fit. You are playing your best with Chris Paul here. So I think it was Lorenzo who said the Rockets looking bad for letting them go. And it's just the way it happened. It's the way they did it. We know he's not talking about the OKC. Then he's not talking about them writing them off. We know we're not talking about the Clippers. So there's nobody else. It is, and definitely not when he started in the league with New Orleans. It is the Houston Rockets. So good morning to my sister Ellen and Angel. If you guys wonder why Angel's not on the show, because she's with my sister. So that is where she is. Good morning. Hey, good morning, Jules Moore. Welcome. It's always good to see you on Chalk Talk. Thank you for being in the room today. And you say the organization. Yeah, I mean, Lorenzo, I always wondered about the organization and this. I believe in taking care of your superstars, but when you acquiesce and give your star what they want year in, year out, and you're still coming up short, maybe at some point you say, okay, you know what? We got you. We've done everything you've asked. We're paying you. You're going to have to work this out. And because you mad? No, that's not good enough. It was a bad move. And now the Rockets are a lottery team. So that is what's happening in the West. I mean, they are headed to the Western Conference Finals, they being the Phoenix Sun, led by Chris Paul. And like he said, it's just fun. It's a team. He said it was never me, it's us. And that was a problem. This Rockets organization, for as great as the teams were, and I say that, they were pretty good teams. And we got to cover playoff teams for 8 straight years? It was a lot about me and that was when James Harden was here, and it wasn't enough about us or we. It was always kind of me first, and we heard that when Chris left. He didn't really take the cover off all the junk. Now, when Westbrook left, he told y'all what it was. How he wouldn't show up to practice. You know, he'd go out of town, he'd fly to Vegas for a day when they had that. Just all sorts of things that don't add up to leadership. But at any rate, we're talking about Chris Paul. We're talking about, Monty, the Phoenix Sun. It's just a great, great story. And it's great to, it's fun to talk about and cover. Good morning, Emma Yancey. It's good to see you. I love you too. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. So that's what's happening with the Phoenix Sun. All right. The other matchup, if you will, in the West is the Clippers and the Utah Jazz. So I'm going to we're going to look at some highlights from the Clippers and the Jazz, and then we're going to talk about the Hawks and the Sixers. And Charles has made a point about Tucker. He said he was not happy with Tucker's tactics and defense. But if you're wondering, how did those series, the Clippers and the Jazz and the Hawks and the Sixers, wind up being tied at 2 games apiece? I want to let you see a little bit of it right now.
Jazz Clippers last night. Utah, a 2-1 series lead coming in with the Clippers at home, coming out hot right out of the gates. It's Paul George early, knocking down the 3. And then his running mate, Kawhi Leonard, looking to get involved. PG gets it to him. 30 points in the first quarter for the Clippers. They're off to a blistering start. Second quarter, Clippers by 23. Paul George in the lane, throws it down with 2 hands. But if you think that's something, take a look at this. Kawhi Leonard, here he comes down the line.
I think that's what you're talking about, Lorenzo.
On Derek Favors. Oh, that's a poster. Vince Carter will offer his thoughts in just a moment. Kawhi with the big slam. Clippers by 24 at the half. Fourth quarter, here's a bad moment. You see Kawhi bumped by Joe Ingles in transition. Got a little bit of right knee pain. He would leave the game but remain on the bench. He would say afterward, quote, "I'll be good." That obviously is a huge factor going forward. But the Clippers were good last night. Good enough for a 118-104 win. That series now tied at 2 games apiece. Meanwhile, the game of the night was in Atlanta. Game 4, Hawks, Sixers. Philly up 2-1, coming in. 4.5 to go in the second quarter. Joel Embiid still working with that meniscus in the right knee. He was good in the first half. His team was better. That one gets to go. 62-49 Philly at the break. But the Hawks not giving up. Huge third quarter. Down by 7, but not for long. Bogdanovich, no. John Collins, yes. 14 points, 12 rebounds. Got both there. It's a 5-point game. Start of the fourth. Hawks within 2 now. Kevin Huerter working on the perimeter. Bogdanovich, he had 22 points. Hawks take the lead. 5 minutes to go in the game. Tied at 92. Good game. Trae Young throwing it up. Clint Capella throwing it down. 18 assists for Trae Young. Hawks up 2. 1.5 to go. Sixers up by 1. Joel Embiid just had no lift in the second half and no points. 0 for 12 in the second half for Embiid. Ensuing Hawks possession. It's Young. Little floater in the lane. Just 8 of 26 on the night. But that one goes. He scored 25. Hawks by 1. 14 seconds left. Sixers.
My bad.
Where are they going to go?
Here he goes.
Oh,
and he can't make it.
But this time he goes to the hole. Can't get it to go. Ball's out of bounds. It's off Ben Simmons. Doc Rivers can't believe it's going to get away. Last chance for the Sixers. 4 seconds left. Down by 3. Where are you going to go? Seth Curry. That's not a terrible look, and it comes close, but it's no good. And the Hawks win it. 103-100. Series tied at 2 games apiece. Joel, let's talk.
I just didn't have the lift. Thought I got fouled too, but usually I would go up and, especially for a bucket like that, trying to dunk it, that just said to not be able to, jump for obvious reasons and stuff.
I can't anymore with him. All right, so that is Joel Embiid, right? They can't really do a whole lot, right, with him playing like that. The Sixers cannot advance. And Trae Young, you got to give Trae Young credit. He had 25 points, 18 assists, or 18 rebounds. Trae Young is just playing lights out, but you got to get more from Joel Embiid. I heard somebody say before the game that a key, let me just tell you the numbers from last night. So Trae Young, he had 25 points, 18 assists. He had 18 assists. So he had 25 points and he was a part of at least 36 others, right? Because if all those assists led to twos, it was 36. And some of them led to threes, it was more. So he had a huge impact on what they did last night. Yeah, you're right. Lorenzo says Joel Embiid should be dominating, and it's not enough to say I just didn't have to lift. What is it? I mean, if he's not injured, he's just not playing well enough, and he's got to be a lot better for them to get out of this series and to advance to the conference finals. All right, so that's what's happening with the Sixers. Let me see. I want to show you. Let me see if this is the one. The Kevin Durant, the PJ Tucker situation. Let's see if this is. I think this might be what I want to show you.
Well, Jalen, that series was a sweep. It looked like the Nets were headed toward a sweep, and they were up 2-0, but the Bucks have come back. They evened the series using some defense from PJ Tucker and some good play from Giannis. Jalen, how have the Bucks evened up this series?
This time of the year, the catalysts are your superstars, and Giannis continued to attack the paint without settling. It's easier to do it when your team is getting stops and or rebounds, so he get plays like this in transition, broken floor situations where they don't get a chance to truly form a wall, and that's why he had a career high in the paint with points. So it starts with Giannis. But the second thing I want to say, I want to go to PJ Tucker.
Yep.
See, in the first game, he had 0 points, but his plus minus was 11. Plus 11. He played fantastic. Drew Holiday only had 9 points in the previous game. He actually was fantastic. And you know how they were fantastic? Defensively. I have never seen anybody guard Kevin Durant this well. I know they weren't necessarily, they were planning for Harden to be out, weren't planning for Kyrie to be out, so their offense got a little stagnant and tried to force it to KD. But he was picking them up 94 feet sometime. He was forcing them to the left side sometime. He was getting underneath them. I saw him contesting shots. I saw him block. When the last time you seen somebody block one of Kevin Durant's shots? I know they called a foul, but it wasn't a foul. It wasn't a foul. You can do that when you're familiar with a guy, you're really up on him, and you're taking away his airspace, and then right there when you do it, KD tries to get the contact, and you frustrate an all-time great player. So PJ Tucker, who would have thought that he'd go into a playoff game and make more three-pointers than Kevin Durant? He was outstanding.
He played great defense. However, the story of this game is the Kyrie Irving injury. As you mentioned, they knew their.
All right, so I'm gonna bring that down. So Charles said he wasn't happy with PJ Tucker's tactics on defense. If you watch the game, there's some who would say, it's a little dirty, which is why Kevin Durant, security guy, got a little amped up. Found himself getting off the bench and coming onto the floor and ultimately being thrown out and saying, dude, no, you can't do that here. And remember, PJ Tucker and Kevin Durant know each other very well. They both went to University of Texas, right? Didn't they? I know that Kevin Durant did. I want to think that PJ Tucker did as well. But they know each other well. They played each other. He knows his game. And, it is about, disrupting. It's about disruption, right? That's a word we've heard a lot during the pandemic. But in that game, it was about disruption for the Brooklyn Nets. Here's the thing. They knew they'd be without James Harden for a little bit. He's still banged up and injured. The Kyrie Irving going out. So now you've got one of the big three. So, you'll see what happens. It is obviously not over. It is tied at 2 games apiece, but you went from what looked like it's going to be a sweep. And that's why let me just say this. I get so annoyed sometimes with the media fascination early on with stuff. These declarations like, "Oh, it's going to be a sweep." Wait a minute. Yeah, it's the first. It's the first to four. It's not the first to two. It's the first to four. And sometimes it may take you 7 games to get to 4. Sometimes you may get to 4 straight, like the Phoenix Suns did sweep the MVP and the Denver Nuggets. But it is the first to 4. And so sometimes you can get a little excited about those 2-0 leads. But the way if you look at it and you think, okay, home court advantage matters, and then the team with the home court advantage. So the Brooklyn Nets won their first 2 games at home. There's some who say, but yeah, Kim, it's how they won those games that made us say that they were on their way to sweeping the Bucks. And I'm like, yeah, but the Bucks get to go home too. And at least let them get to 3 before you start calling it a sweep. So not a sweep. They will play now at least 6 games, and possibly 7, but they've each got to play at least 6 games because they play 4. Is tied at 2 apiece. All of these series will go to at least 6 games because you got to have 4. You could win 4-2, you could win 4-3, but you got to get to 4. So that is what's happening. And of course, the big story is Kyrie being injured and what could possibly happen with Kyrie Irving. I'm just trying to see if there was an update. That's what I'm looking for. Before I jumped on with you guys, I did not see anything, but there is a game tonight. There, even with Kyrie possibly being out, and James Harden being out. Let's see here. The Bucks are favored by 4. They're saying that the Nets are 3-1 against the spread. That's way more about betting and gambling. So tonight when they play, they will be without Kyrie. So they'll be down to Durant for Game 5. So that should be interesting. The series is tied at 2 games apiece. The home team is unbeaten. We'll see if tonight that stat remains. We'll see if tonight that stat continues to exist. What do you think? Who are you picking? I know you guys are always asking me, who am I picking? Who are you picking in these playoffs? Who do you have getting to the Eastern Conference Finals? Hawks and Sixers? Who out of that series? And then the Nets and the Bucks. In the West, it's a little easier. You already have one of the teams for the finals in the West. We know it's the Suns. Will it be the Clippers or will it be the Jazz? I'd love to know what you think. I'm sorry I missed this earlier, Cedric. Said I have so much respect for Chris Paul. I really have. He really has a lot of young, dynamic players. I do too. Thank you for that, Cedric. He does. He is that coach on the floor, right? But he's a guy that's trying to get the most out of you, not from just being overbearing and, because here he got a bad rap. He did got a bad rap about being just kind of in your face, right? But it's all about the team, and he's big on defense. He's big on the team effort. What does it take for us to win as a team? And that is what's making a difference with some of these young players out west. Lorenzo says in the East, he's got the Nets. And yeah, if Chris Paul wants to coach when he's done, that's a guy that if he wants to, could go straight from, the court to coaching. I think even more so than a Steve Nash, because you just know, you've had coaches talk about him and what he means on the court, how it really is having another coach out there, and he really cares. Like he really cares, and like even when he was in Oklahoma City, I don't think anybody thought they were headed toward a finals or conference championship, but he was impactful in this with those young players, and they all talked about it, how it made them better. So I think. If he wants to coach, just he will undoubtedly have an opportunity to do so. Lorenzo makes some great points. He says in the Eastern Conference, he's got the Nets. You're right. He's an excellent player. Chris Paul, plus he is a good coach. And James Harden did not like accountability. He did not like accountability, Lorenzo. And you followed me. You know that I've said that for years. So you go to the Nets, there isn't really the same kind of accountability because it can be on Kevin Durant. I mean, it is clearly Kevin Durant's team, right? Or Kyrie Irving. Both of those guys have championships. They got chips. So, now it's not really on just James Harden to pull it out. He didn't have the same amount of pressure, when you're in an elimination game. And for all the people, the same media folk who've been covering this dude for years, who was so amped and excited about what he did during the regular season, he's good at that. Like, he's that guy. He's that dude that has these amazingly impressive regular season runs. He does that really well. My question remains, before I change my thoughts really about James Harden as a leader and as somebody that you could win a championship with, you can't build around him, but you could, he could be a part of a team. But how does he show up in an elimination game? And quite frankly, having a Kevin Durant with you and having a Kyrie Irving would make it takes some of the pressure off because they've been there before and they've done it. And so I just think that's going to be really interesting. Lorenzo says in the West, I think the Clippers will come out of the West. We'll see. We'll see. I think one of the things will Kawhi be okay? They need Kawhi. So, hopefully it's just he said, I'll be fine. And hopefully that is the case, because for them to win, they definitely need to have Kawhi on the court and as healthy as possible. All right. So that's what's happening around the NBA. In the NFL, last week I went to I think it was Wednesday. So it was after the show. I went out to Texans practice again, and it was OTAs last week. I would have gone out this week for minicamp probably, except there is no minicamp. They canceled minicamp. I heard Nick Caserio, the general manager, on a local radio station yesterday, and he said, they talked about David Culley, the head coach. It talked to the players and told them if they showed up for OTAs and I guess worked really hard or whatever, then they would, maybe they would not have minicamp. So minicamp was canceled this week. But here's my thing. That sounds good. But the Houston Texans they were 4-12 last year. Okay, let's just start there. Their defense was not very good. In fact, it was pretty close to awful. Your team is turned over. I mean, you've made more moves in the offseason. I forget the number, but you've got a lot of new players, a lot of new people. You got a new coaching staff. You got a new general manager. You got a new regime. And y'all don't think you need minicamp? Okay. Give them some rest. Let them kick it. Training camp starts in late July. I mean, in about mid to late July. I forget the exact date, the 20-ish. I don't remember the date of training camp. Maybe I don't know it yet, but that's typically about the time that they go. That's just crazy. To me, you need minicamp. You got a lot of work to do. But hey, give them a break, For those of you who inbox and ask me what's happening with the Deshaun Watson case, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. There's nothing new to report. And I get this question often. You think Deshaun will play for the Texans again? I don't know. I would be very surprised if he did. He has made it very clear, at least through other people, that he does not want to play for the organization. I don't think that any of his recent legal woes would change that. And with the Texans organization having this kind of a Christian-facing presence that they tend to lean to or stand behind, I don't see them wanting him back. actually, I know that may sound crazy with as talented as he is. I just think that the season for that relationship is over. And I don't know where he's going to go. He has said he wants to go to the Nuggets to play for not the Nuggets, to play for Denver. Not the Nuggets, that would be the basketball team. The Broncos. So, we'll see. There has been some interest there, as well as Miami. But until the legal issues are ironed out and teams have a sense of when he will even be available, I just don't know that there's much that will happen. I mean, we've seen, clips of him working out on Instagram, but, and you guys know I'm a huge Deshaun fan. I really hate all that's going on around him. I don't think he has handled it the best, but I also think his team isn't very good. You heard me say that too. I don't think he's gotten great counsel, and I think it shows. And so I just wish the best for him and all the women, that people can get to a place where, that the truth comes out and that there can be some resolution to this, because it's just not a good situation really for anybody. But listen, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will, and you will spend a fortune trying to regain control of your narrative. I talk about that in my business. I talk about that, working with people and coaching them. You can be cryptic and you can say little things, but if you want to control your narrative, then you must tell your own story. That's the best way that you do it. And we saw that with Naomi Osaka at the French Open. She told her own story. And even she said perhaps she could have been more clear and done some things differently, but we heard from her directly her position and where she stood. And so that just makes a huge difference. So that's all I have. Trust me, if there's ever movement on the Deshaun Watson story, information, I will share it with you. I'm not going to give you every little bit of smut and dirt, because that's not really how I operate. But if there's some information, and not that there's even been any of that, I've heard nothing. It's been like totally silent for at least, I don't know, maybe a month. So, and we'll get Charles Drayton to join me again soon, our legal expert. But, maybe that means that there are settlement talks underway. I can't imagine that both sides are just sitting back waiting. I don't know how you maneuver that. I am not a lawyer. I watch a lot of them on TV. So that's all I have on that, everybody. And of course, in baseball, let me give you and I'm going to get you some sound soon. The Houston Astros are back in town, and they are playing the Rangers tonight. Then they will play, I think the White Sox are coming to town. In the AL West, they are 2.5 games behind Oakland, they being the Astros. The Astros have a record of 37-28. The Texas Rangers are 25-41, bringing at the bottom of the American League West. Tampa Bay right now is the best team in the East with a record of 43-24. In the National League, the Mets are leading the NL East. The Cubs are atop, really are kind of tied for the lead of the National League Central with Milwaukee. Both teams are 38-28. And then in the West, San Francisco is in first place. They lead the Dodgers by 1 full game. The San Francisco is 41-25, and the Dodgers are 40-26. So it's really close. But again, there's a lot of baseball left to play, but I did want to bring you up to date on that. And if you saw it over the weekend, our guy Dusty got thrown out. He wasn't feeling it on a couple of those calls. And I want to think the White Sox come to town this week, because I think I'm going to check out a couple White Sox games. Let me see something. I feel like that is the case. Is it? Yeah. So Thursday, the White Sox are here. I think I'm going to that game on Thursday night. So at any rate, so a couple of announcements. Here's Lorenzo who says if Kawhi is hurt, the Clippers will be done. Yeah, without Kawhi, they're. I agree. I don't think they can't get it done without Kawhi. In the next couple of weeks, I say a couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have a really cool giveaway. You guys sometimes hear me talk about yoga. I take a lot of hot yoga. It's a great workout. I practice at a studio in Bel Air. And the owner is going to come on one day and we're going to talk about really what hot yoga is and the benefits of it. And they are going to give us a yoga subscription for a whole year. It's in person. It's a location that's open 7 days a week. They've got a variety of classes. Hot, there's flow, there's something called booty yoga. It's a great place to work out. And they're going to give us a membership for one person for a full year, unlimited yoga. That's about, if you buy it, it's $900, between $900 and $1,000. So it's a whole year of free yoga, unlimited. So I am going to create a drawing so I can have a system this time when we have this giveaway. But, so pay attention, make sure that you're staying in tune because it's a great thing to win. So, we're going to have some cool stuff that we give away on Chalk Talk. I'm gonna do some packages of some gift baskets, if you will, with Kimmy treats, some popcorn, the vegan popcorn. So you guys, I'm gonna start giving some of that away each week. But yeah, I appreciate you being a part of the show, and we just want to make sure that everybody is engaged. So make sure that you pay attention for that. So I told you at the beginning of the show, let me get back and put this number on the screen. It's important. So here's a number. And I said, you need to call your U.S. senators. Well, Kim, what are you calling for? So I'm going to let you hear a little bit from, hey, Raynice. She says, Jada, the Kimmy treats. And also another, Raynice had a birthday over the weekend. Happy belated birthday. I actually did tell her over the weekend, although I was a day early. I don't know how I did that. Me and Angel. I'll just blame Angel. And we've got a really cool birthday gift for you. So we can't wait to see you. So this is why I say, and I put this number up a few times, write this number down. Here is what I need you to know. So Stacey Abrams was on the readout last night, and I hope I can get to it. Okay, so
the big lie that the election was stolen, pushed by a wannabe autocrat and his feckless followers.
Okay, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit because I want to get to it.
At least 14 states have enacted 22 new laws restricting the vote this year. The Senate could counter those efforts by passing the For the People Act, which would expand voting rights. But with Joe Manchin in opposition, its chances of passing aren't looking so great. That's why, as we enter this hot vax summer, Stacey Abrams is launching her Hot Call Summer campaign, asking supporters to call their senators every day until the For the People Act passes. And I'm joined now by Stacey Abrams, founder of Fair Fight Action, and author of Our Time Is Down, available in paperback now, which is a great book. And Stacey, part of what we're seeing with these fake audits, which are also now Georgia Republicans are interested in bringing it to your state. Part of it seems to me that it's GOTV. It's a way to excite their base by saying, don't worry, we won't let the black people vote. But what's scary is it actually could stop a lot of people of color and young people from voting. How worried are you that these efforts, as ludicrous as some of them are, will actually impede people's ability to vote? Well, I'm deeply concerned because it's worked before. We keep forgetting that voter suppression isn't new. And these are variations on a theme. I talk about it in Our Time Is Now that voter suppression began with the inception of this nation. But what has happened in the 21st century is that it's been digitized. It's been commoditized and it's been franchised out of the South and across the country. And what we are seeing with the fake audits, with the intimidation of election workers, with the criminalization of simply doing the job of managing democracy. We are seeing attacks on all levels of our democracy, and we should be deeply concerned about it. But we should also remember that it's our democracy, and we have the right to reassert ourselves and to push back. And that's why we are doing Hall Summer, and why we are reaching out to every single senator, calling on each of them to do their job and to pass before the People Act.
And I want you to explain about how Hall Summer is and how people can get involved in it, because you're right. It's not just Joe Manchin. There are 50 of them, and it's not clear that there are not even 10 of them who are on the same side as him. With 389 bills in 48 states, every state except Delaware and Vermont is now pushing to make it harder to vote. And again, I think partly GOTV, but we're talking about you're also seeing limiting the power of secretaries of state, or taking away their power if they don't do as they're told. It was bad enough to have a secretary of state in your state that said, I'm going to make this electorate perfect for myself, and then I'm going to run for governor. What will it mean if some of these really out there people get the job of Secretary of State?
So we've got to pay attention to the fact that these laws do three things. One, they're anti-voter. They are designed to stop voters that the Republicans found inconvenient in this last election. Namely, young people, people of color, disabled. Number two, these are anti-election worker bills. They are designed to get good people to abandon their posts, to criminalize those who still want to do their job, and to replace them with those who undermine the administration of elections. And three, they are designed to subvert democracy. And the challenges, to the extent we have secretaries of state who support and suborn this behavior, they are hastening the demise of our democracy. And this is not hyperbole. This is exactly what happens across the world when past long-standing democracies start to erode. It begins by undermining how people feel, not about the democracy that they have, but about the administration of that democracy. And what this is intended to do is to convince voters that it is not worth the effort. To your point about being GOTV, is to convince those who decided to show up for the first time, decide that they were going to push through those barriers once more, that it's not worth it, and it's trying to convince those who believe the big lie that there is something in it for them on the other side, that if they break down democracy, that they get something better on the other side. And unfortunately, we know that's autocracy. We know that it is not designed for their benefit, and it's not designed for America's benefit.
Yeah. So what do we do? Because I think what a lot, we can talk about this on our calls, when we do our calls, we're like, what is the plan? What is the pushback? What do we do?
So, number one, go to stopjimcrow2.com, and you can get all this information. But for Hot Summer, we're asking everyone to call their U.S. senators, both of them. Call them every day. The number is 888-453-3211. 888-453-3211. When you call that number, it's painless. We will connect you to your U.S. senator. Both the first one, then you talk to that person, then you call back and do the second one. And yes, there are going to be some U.S. senators who won't answer the phone, who won't return your call, who will argue with you. But this is not about them. This is about them knowing that you know who they are. You know what you deserve. And that we are putting citizenship above partisanship. We need a hot Hall Summer because they need to know that they cannot withstand the force of the American people when we decide to protect our democracy.
And you've been an elected official, Stacey. You know the power of big money. And you know that one of the reasons that big money, people like the U.S. Chamber and Americans for Prosperity oppose S1, because it would go at the big money. A lot of people feel powerless against that kind of big, dark money. How do we defeat it?
We have to remember that politicians are often motivated by money, peer pressure, or attention. And if we don't have the money to sway them, we can get to them with attention by calling out those who are doing right and calling out those who are not doing their job. And then it's peer pressure. It's getting those who are standing on the side of right, giving them all of the attention and support we can, and forcing the other side to recognize that if they want to keep their job, they have to do their job and protect our democracy. Money is the easiest way to do it. we've got the power of the people behind us. And if people stand up, especially those who showed up and changed the future of the world in 2020 and in January 2021 here in Georgia, we can do that. We can do this. And fall summer is how we're going to get this done. Have you talked to people like Warnock, Senator Warnock?
Okay, so I wanted to share that with you because I think it's important to understand it. And I think obviously no one can explain it as well as Stacey Abrams. I'm going to put the number back on the screen. Here's the number to call. Write that number down. You can call every day. Make sure that you call them both. And if you call your senators in Texas, tell Ted Cruz I said hello. He never responds, just if you're a Texan and you call. But like she said, it doesn't really matter if they call, if they answer. They need to know you want them to pass the For the People Act. That is important. We're not going to just sit by and complain about it. And if you happen to be in Texas, we got some other stuff to be worried about too. Like this whole power grid they're talking about is once again in jeopardy. Well, it's always been in jeopardy because they never fixed it. It's time for them to connect with the main grid and not just be a standalone on their own grid so that all these people can make money and then we have a chance of being without power. It is too hot for that. So at any rate, those are your instructions for this week. Call your senators. Also, if you have not gotten the vaccine, I want you to really consider getting the vaccine. If your kids are over 12, get the vaccine for them. We are not out of the woods with COVID, so I'm encouraging you to do that. And still practice social distancing. Wear your mask when you're in public places with a whole lot of people. You know, just use good common sense and don't be out there acting up. I know that that's none of the people who listen to Chalk Talk because you all would not carry yourselves that way. But I just want to encourage you to continue to do the right things as it relates to making decisions for your family and your community about COVID and protecting yourself and your family and others around you. Call your U.S. senators. That's really, really important. And for all the fathers who are a part of Chalk Talk in advance, happy Father's Day. We appreciate you. Keep up the great work. And that's all I have for today. So as always, thank you guys for being a part of the show. Continue to keep coming back. We're going to have cool giveaways. We've got some Kimmy treats coming up for giveaways. We're going to have a whole year of yoga, hot yoga, that is unlimited, that we're going to be giving one of those packages away. We'll have some other Astros tickets coming up and just lots of great information. So thank you for being a part of the show. Have a great, great week. And remember, do something kind for yourself and something kind for somebody else. I'll see you guys next week. Make it a great Tuesday.